Warning, there is a great existential threat facing the Toronto Raptors, one that we will examine on today's show. Thanks for hanging.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Thursday, December the 12th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work on the socials, Blue Sky. There's a show Instagram page. And of course, you got the Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. It's free to join. Come be part of the Sicko Den over there. The trade season is starting up, which means the fake trade sickos chat is about to pop off. Come and join if you can decipher the ridiculous rules of the NBA CBA, which we'll get into a little bit later on, as it turns out. Of course, you can support the daily and free Locked On Raptors newsletter, original writing from me 5 days a week, original writing on the league at large from today's guest 4 days a week. And of course, you get Michael Shearer basketball poetry. That's today on Thursdays. And you get Josh Lloyd's fantasy tips, all kinds of great stuff for the low, low price of $0. Look, the world is hard these days. It's tough to find good stuff for free. The Locked On Raptors newsletter is one of those things. So go subscribe, and it very much is helpful. It makes me feel very good about myself. So thanks in advance for doing that. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And we get rolling here on your Thursday edition of the show, welcoming back Hot Take Heindl, Katie Heindl, the national editor of the Locked On newsletters and basketball feelings writer. And we know Katie by now. Katie, what's up?
I was at a holiday party on the weekend and somebody was recognized 3 times, which was weird enough in itself. However, then someone also was talking to me about Hot Take Heindl.
It's happening. It's happened. It's got into the mainstream.
But it was even weirder because
they
hadn't heard it. They had heard of it. Mm-hmm, they hadn't like listened to it. So I had to explain it. And it made me so uncomfortable even explaining it.
This is incredible. It's gone through. Word of mouth is now passing around the phenomena that is Hot Take Heindl. It's a holiday season miracle. And we're going to hopefully dip back into the Hot Take Heindl take bag coming up in today's show at some point. I might spring something on you at some point here, Katie, to get you to, bring out them takes. Of course, on today's show, we are also going to get into a big problem facing the Toronto Raptors that I wrote about in yesterday's newsletter. The team just don't dunk no more, and it's very sad for me, someone who loves the dunks. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about life without Scottie Barnes version 2.0, which starts tonight against the Miami Heat, and we've got some League at Large talk with the writer of the League at Large section of the Locked On Raptors newsletter. We call that brand synergy, baby. But let's start, Katie, with the dunks. I wrote about this yesterday in the newsletter. It's something I feel very strongly about. And I guess before we dive into the nuts and bolts of the Raptors not dunking, let me ask you, you like dunks, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty I was going to say self-evident, but I think that's pretty public knowledge. I love a dunk.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a dunk, frankly? It's the best thing a basketball player can do. It's the thing I spend every time I'm at pickup wishing I could do. It's it's just the chance to do it one time on a real regulation rim would be absolutely beautiful. But I frankly don't have the calf muscles for that, Katie. But yeah, the Raptors seem to not like dunks. And it's weird because it's a team that gets to the rim a lot. They are third in the league in rim frequency per our pals over at Clean the Glass. They're really good at getting to the rim. They're closer to first in the league than they are to fourth. That's how much they love getting to the rim. And yet they are 27th in dunks, Katie. This was some painstaking research I did during the Raptors game on Monday night. Myself and our pal Keeks were going through Basketball Reference, and this was a response to Jonathan Mogbo missing a couple of bunnies and Davion Mitchell missing one as well, that had they just been dunks, would have been points for the Toronto Raptors. And it just got me. I mean, I knew it was a thing that they weren't dunking very much, but I really wanted to get to the heart of the issue. And the issue is far more concerning than I ever could have imagined, Katie. Like I said, 27th in the league in dunks, despite being third in the league in shots at the rim. Just 79 dunks on the season for the Raptors. Through the end of Monday night's action, that put them ahead of only Brooklyn, Phoenix, and Chicago, 3 cowardly squads who are afraid of rims. And it put them less than half of the total of the league-leading Atlanta Hawks, who are objectively a team of the podcast now because of all the yams they throw down. They led the league after Monday with 163, surely added to that last night in the NBA Cup game against the Knicks. Katie, how concerned are you about this paucity of dunks for the Toronto Raptors, a team that throughout their history has been known for its ability to throw the hell down?
Yeah, I would say also, historically brought back the dunk contest, as people like to say.
They have a dunk-inspired court and jersey this year.
Jersey, yeah, exactly. It's woven. It is literally woven into the history of the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, it's a bummer. I guess I hadn't thought about it as much as you had, and it wasn't. It hadn't been brought to my attention. But when I do think about the way the team is scoring, it hasn't been via dunk delivery. So that's a bummer. Though I am honestly surprised that the Hawks lead the league.
Jalen Johnson loves to yam.
Yeah, I think
There's lots of lobs out of Trae Young.
Because I don't think of, I really think of them almost as like a perimeter shooting team. I don't really, because of Trae Young.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jalen Johnson, a lot of fun. I do, I look down. This is the thing with dunks. I feel like they're very good. They're kind of like a young man's game. I think because of health reasons, bounce reasons, and effort reasons. I think, effortfulness of a dunk and the desirability to want to do that tapers off as people's careers go on. And the Raptors are loaded with a lot of new young guys, very athletic. And dunks are also all about showmanship and showing off and like changing game momentum through that. Again, something I would think could really the Raptors could utilize to their advantage. So given these two things, it is actually quite surprising to me that they're not dunking more.
It also is hurting them, Katie, because they're 24th in the league in shooting percentage at the rim. So their layup line is not exactly yielding high-end results for a team that once again lives at the rim. Their entire style of play is about moving stuff toward the rim with cuts and drives and pick and roll and all the stuff they run. And so, not dunking is actually costing them points on the board. Those sort of two bunnies from Jonathan Mogbo, I think, a really good example in that game against the Knicks. Beautiful baseline cuts. I think caught a pass from Kelly Olynyk and just tries to lay it in, doesn't go in, gets the offensive rebound, tries to lay it in again, doesn't go in. Just yam the thing, dude. And the thing with Jonathan Mogbo is he is the least sort of culpable for the Raptors' dunk issues this year, because the rookie, who is 10th on the team in minutes and 12th on the team in field goal attempts, is number 1 on the team in dunks at 19, which is not a lot of dunks. OG Anunoby, who I think the trade of is a big part of the sort of issues here, he has 47 dunks himself this year. Giannis Antetokounmpo has 91 dunks on his own, which is more than 8 teams on this together spreadsheet I have. It's crazy. The Raptors are just missing that juice. I talked about Norman Powell, did I talk about Norman Powell? We were talking about Norman Powell off air.
Yes.
I talked about him in the newsletter as well. Norman Powell, the day they traded him for Gary Trent Jr., kind of feels like the day the dunks began to die for this team, because Gary Trent Jr., not a dunksman. Norman Powell loved to throw down on dudes' heads. It was his favorite thing in the world. His dunk on Anthony Davis is a slept-on great dunk in Raptors history. He's got some other ones, obviously, on top of that. And so my question to you here, Katie, is you look around this roster, you mentioned how youthful it is, the exuberance that should be sort of flowing from all these guys. Is there hope for this team to turn around its issues throwing down? I mean, Mobo's a great start. I think the fact that he's going to now maybe play a little bit more with Jakob Poeltl, who 2 straight games has set him up with easy dunks rolling to the rim. More of that, please. Big pick and roll ending in yams. Yes, please. But beyond that, I mean, we've yet to see a dunk from Jacoby Walter. We have only seen 2 from Grady Dick this season. There's only 3 guys on the team in double digits in dunks. It's Scottie Barnes at 10, which feels low considering he's played 14 games and is probably the best pure dunker on the team. Chris Boucher's at 17 at number 2 on the team. Where's the fix here, Katie? Are you feeling confident that they can find some dunks within the team they have, or do they have to get some outside help?
Scottie's dunks they do feel low, but it doesn't surprise me, just given I think the careful approach to him and his injuries. So
Sure.
Boucher, actually, that kind of surprises me.
Yeah.
Generally, like he's someone we can count on for getting in there and like a sort of a wacky
I mean, he's
like
number
body
2 on the
contorted
team. That's good.
kind of way. I know, but I just mean I would expect him to have more.
Yeah, sure.
This might be going out on like a real theory limb, but I do wonder if because the team is so young and within Darko's rotations and offensive schemes, so much of the focus has been on ball movement, looking for the next pass, like playing quite unselfishly. Dunks obviously veer away from that.
Yeah.
Right. So I wonder if it's like just been drilled into them a little too hard. Like you've got to pass, you've got to find someone who has like the best shot. If it's not you, ball movement is going to be what like sparks our offense. And then that in turn is going to feed our defense. So I wonder if there's like a reticence to dunk because it's like, maybe it's seen as selfish.
I mean, if that's the case, it's the first big strike against Darko and his coaching staff.
Not that I don't think any coach. I mean, like when we think of like ISO, instructions not to play ISO ball, I really don't think it's like, and don't dunk. Whatever you do, don't dunk. I don't think any coach is saying that, because I also do think within coaching strategy there is an understanding that really like offensively energy generating moves like a real dagger 3 or like a dunk, in the way that we're talking about them, are also just as good. Yeah, for confidence, especially for a young team, right? So I don't think those were probably the precise instructions. I think it's more something that's been kind of like lost to the wayside because of the way that the team is playing.
Yeah, that it makes a lot of sense. I'm not super hopeful that they have the answers in-house, honestly, Katie. I think,
these guys can dunk.
They can.
They just got to believe they can dunk, and I think that's the thing too.
Sure. But like Jakob Poeltl, I don't think he wants to dunk anymore. He only has 5 dunks all year. He's figured out I can just push it in from 8 feet. And
that's not his job. Dunking is not Poeltl's job.
But that's the thing. He's your pick and roll center. Like that's usually the source of a lot of dunks for teams. And so I don't know if he's going to be the guy who fixes it. Bruno Fernando has the loudest dunk for the team this year. It's the 7th biggest dunk per NBA.com's dunk score, which is like the best statistical addition to that website ever. But he only has 7 on the season. I think Grady, he might be the biggest sort of like upside guy here when it comes to dunks. He only has 2. He's always around the rim, and he's always trying to do these like dainty sort of pirouettes in the air to get the layup. Just dunk it, dude. Just like I don't need
that's
the
just
theatrics.
His body, Sean.
I know, but just
don't
do TikTok flips in the air, and instead just yam, dude. That's my advice to Grady Dick. I do think Jacoby Walter has a shot here. He doesn't have a dunk yet, but he does have a really quick first step, and I do think he stands the best chance of anyone in the last handful of years of sort of filling the Norm shoes. And Norm was such a prolific dunker for this team. But yeah, it's a concern, Katie. Maybe it means nothing to the win-loss total. There's no real correlation between doing a lot of dunks and being good, although the Cavs are 3rd, the Hawks are fun, and they're 1st. The Grizzlies are 4th. Maybe there is a correlation, actually.
Yeah, I would actually argue there is.
6th. Yeah, the Jazz are 6th, but maybe that's just, exception that proves the rule. Also, the Lakers, very old, 2nd in dunks. Weird.
LeBron still dunks a lot.
This is true.
And so does AD. I think it's like sometimes what gets counted as a dunk when AD just like plops the ball with force into the net. Like you wouldn't your eyes like that's not a dunk, but statistically it is.
Yeah, fair enough. Either way, we've examined this issue. We're going to keep an eye on this issue. Hopefully they can climb from 27th in the league in dunks. And Jonathan Mogbo might be our greatest hope for this. Just throw down, brother. Do it. We love you. All right, we're going to come back on the other side, Katie, and get into Life Without Scottie Barnes version 2.0, which begins tonight against the Miami Heat. What are we looking forward to? What are we sad about? We'll get into that coming up in just one sec. Why was I about to take the shot?
I don't know.
Show. What am
2
I
for
doing?
1 though.
All right, we'll come back and do that. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time, the single best place to buy tickets for the sporting events that you want to go to. It's a great place to go if you want to peruse. Maybe you want to go to a game last minute. The Raptors are playing, routinely at home. They play at home on Monday again. If you want to go to that game, then you can go and check out Game Time Picks, and they will filter out the fluff and show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And as you get closer to game time, those prices are going to go down. It's a wonderful thing. You can go, if you stand outside the arena, if you really want to brave the cold and risk the not getting the tickets you want, but you probably will because they have great deals going right up to game time, and the tickets are only going to get more affordable as tip-off draws near. You can toggle on the all-in pricing feature as well, so you know exactly what you're going to pay, which is a wonderful thing. No surprise fees at the end when you toggle that feature on. You can also, of course, count on the lowest price guarantee with Game Time. Take their guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Well, it's game time. Back at it here with Katie Heindl of Basketball Feelings and the Locked On family of local news letters as we take a look now. Raptors Heat tonight in Miami. The Raptors begin their second stretch of the season without Scottie Barnes. Reports came out yesterday that he'll be out for several weeks, reevaluated in a week's time, which is a closer reevaluation than maybe I thought we'd get with him. So that's good, I guess. He does have a history of being quick to recover from ankle injuries a couple of times in his career. So fingers crossed there. But it does seem like it'll be a little while here. They missed him for 11 games last time. Maybe a ballpark, that's what they're going to miss him for this time, though it is a light part of the schedule, just 3 games in the next 11 days, which helps just sort of mitigate the impact of not having him around. But Katie, we all know this sucks. It's not cool. Scottie Barnes is really coming into his own as a playmaker, as a positive play driver, and to see yet another false start for seeing this team kind of at full tilt, especially considering in that game against the Knicks, they were really looking like full tilt Raptors. It was super fun. And then everything kind of falls to crap when he gets hurt. They still almost win, but it did feel like as soon as he went out, that was on its way to a loss in one way, shape, or form. Hopes, dreams, concerns of the Scottie Barnes 2.0 era on the sidelines coming up here for the Raptors.
I think it stinks. I think it's a momentum killer, considering how good they did look with him back and how well he was fitting into things right off the bat. So that blows. I'm going to miss seeing the glasses. I really
it's just like the end of the glasses. It's going to give him time to recover from them.
I guess that's true. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. There was no time to get a purple pair of glasses, as Catherine Niker and I had chatted about on her podcast. I was really liking the red. I'm a fan of red glasses. Quinn Snyder, shout out. I can't think about those glasses without getting very internally frazzled. Saw them last night. They look good, Quinn. But it's I don't know. It's I don't know. I know we were talking about dunks maybe in a superfluous way, but when I do think of the things that drive offensive momentum and all the things that the team is really still lacking on, specifically closing games, right? And hanging on to leads, you need that kind of generative effort and momentum. And you need players who have some level of maturation more. And Scottie Barnes, I think, does, is also the de facto leader of the team to be able to slow things down. We're hey guys, we've got a lead. We don't have to just frantically play it away, which is I think what is happening in these games. So it also stinks for that reason. And yeah, generally it's just, you hate to see these kinds of disruptions. And for somebody who is having such a great career season, the times he has been on the floor. And I don't think this will be really devastating to his career trajectory and momentum. It is just not an ideal setback for him.
Yeah, this was supposed to be the season where you kind of figured out what you have, and you go into next season as Scotty's on his max. You have Quickly going into year 2 of his 5-year deal, and your younger guys are matured a little bit, and you're sort of supposed to hit the ground running, knowing exactly what kind of car you're in. And it doesn't quite feel like we're going to fully know that. Like, Katie, we've had, I think of like the 10 games in February last year where the team was kind of normal and static without trades and, rumors and everything. And then Scottie and Yacht go down. And then we had the 4 games at the start of this season before Scottie goes down, and then 10 games after that. So we're talking to like 25 games at most of Scottie Barnes at the wheel and actually learning what that is. And I think for the most part, the returns have been pretty encouraging there, but we haven't seen him and Barrett and Quickly play together since March 1st, which is crazy. What is it now? Like 9 months since we've seen those guys together. It's troubling stuff. Like, it's just, again, it's not going to derail the future of the franchise or anything. It just kind of makes everything a little bit more murky. And going into a summer where it felt like if you got a lot of good info, a lot of good tape on the team this season, you could actually make some decisions this summer to kind of better set yourself up going into next year when things get real. And now it feels like it's going to be a little harder to make those decisions. And it's not going to be impossible because there's lots of other stuff that's happened, right, Katie? Like, we've seen the young guys pop. We've seen that there's a more functional level of depth here than I think we ever imagined. And you can kind of imagine and sort of, it just in your mind what the BBQ trio is going to look like with all of these guys in support. Kind of did that on yesterday's show, sort of thinking about what a sensible team construct they have if they can ever achieve full health. But it just gets harder to make those sort of grand sweeping decisions of, okay, well, what's RJ Barrett's role in this long term? Like, is there a move this summer where you're trying to make an upgrade, or what's the role of, Jakob Poeltl with this team as he goes into what could be a walk year with a player option at the end of next season? Like, it just makes those decisions a little harder to make, and it won't make them impossible. And it doesn't mean that everything's derailed and everything's going to be terrible forever. And there's still plenty of opportunity to see these guys. Hopefully once mid-January comes around, you get IQ and Scottie back and you can actually still get like half a season of run. But yeah, it sucks to have these delays in gathering some really important information about this team. What are you looking forward to here, Katie? The next little stretch here. I talked a little bit yesterday on the show about how I'm looking forward to watching Grady, Walter, Barrett, and Ochai kind of duke it out for like closing time supremacy once the team is back and fully whole. I think we could see those 4 guys play together a lot in closing lineups right now, along with Poeltl. But, that's the thing I'm looking forward to. What do you have kind of as like your silver lining of Scottie Barnes going out on or off the court?
So your silver lining is people like vying for positions against
Hell yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gladiator, Katie. It's Gladiator season. We
Have you seen it yet? Come on.
Not yet. I have to go see it still.
I might go for the 3rd time with a friend of mine who hasn't seen it. Invited myself along. He looked at me with real fear in his eyes. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah.
Are you showing up like in Gladiator garb?
No, I haven't done that.
Well, for your next viewing, you should probably.
It was very tough not to bring. I'll show everyone right now. It was very tough not to bring my popcorn bucket to the second showing that I saw. This thing is quality. It's tin.
That is a quality bucket.
It's
it looks
tin.
like the Colosseum. The texture, the layers. Wow.
It's now my office garbage can.
Nice.
Okay. Don't cut any of this out, by the way. This is good stuff.
Sorry to the audio.
This is great podcasting.
But it's fine.
You don't like the tin ASMR? Anyway, what am I looking forward to? Yeah, as a person who everyone knows is a big fan of continuity, not this stretch. I thought they had finally got back to something that would resemble that. So for the sake of my brain and my own narrative continuity, I will say I am, I guess, once again looking forward to uncovering surprise depth in the roster, given the absence of Scottie Barnes. But we have also seen a lot of guys pop. RJ Barrett has been playing really well. To your earlier point, I don't know that you want to look at, quote, upgrading, moving him this summer, I really don't. I liked what I've seen so far. I like the opportunities he's had and like the growth that he's done. Nice to see Kelly Olynyk back.
He's going to make it a lot less hellish, I think.
And I guess the triumphant return of Bruce Brown, whenever that's going to be, though I am enjoying the Fitz I have a jacket just like that fringed suede one he wore the other night. It reminded me, I was like, I should be wearing that jacket more. Probably not with the current weather.
Mhm.
But you can layer jackets. That's not illegal.
Yeah. You should
Yeah.
just like wear a couple base layers
It's my
underneath.
inside
And,
jacket.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it would be my inside jacket and I would have a
Oh.
big parka on outside.
Oh, okay. See, I'm someone who like put the most stylish thing on the outside and just wear a bunch of like layers of
You'd just be like a
tank
big
underneath.
sausage with a fringed suede jacket on.
100%. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds great to me.
Different, you know what? Fashion, no rules. Different approach to style.
Mhm.
Anyway, but truthfully, I am playing wise also looking forward to whenever that happens. So I do
Mhm.
think I'm still looking forward to the same things, just the backdrop in which those things gets to happen.
Yeah.
No, just like is Scottie Barnes list, and I don't
Yes.
like that as much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more Jacoby Walter. He's been really exciting in his little pops. More Jonathan Mogbo is always going to be an A+ in my books. So, I'll find ways to keep myself entertained for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
Katie, I promised the listeners we would thrust upon
Uh-oh.
you with the burden of dipping back into the hot take Heindl bag. I'll go first. I'm just going to ask you for a bold prediction for the next stretch
Okay.
without Scottie Barnes. My bold prediction: RJ Barrett's going to win a player of the week at some point in the next month. I just think like I think maybe next week could be the week. They play kind of a light schedule. They have the Bulls, they have the Nets, and the Rockets. And if you go 2-1 in that stretch and you drop 33 a game, that's player of the week material. If Harrison Barnes can do it, RJ Barrett can do it. So that's my bold prediction. I think just like, it might not mean anything, right? It's not going to mean anything about his ability as a number one on-ball guy or anything like that. He's just going to have himself a stretch where he goes off, as he did when Scottie Barnes was out originally, on top of some nights where it didn't look so good. Katie, hot take Heindl, I give you the floor. Give me a bold prediction for the next stretch while Scottie Barnes is out. What you got?
The team falls apart. They trade everybody. Player trade availabilities are coming up December 15th. Watch the clock, people. Watch the calendar. Circle the date. Gonna be some big moves. Say goodbye to Grady Dick. Say goodbye to RJ Barrett. Say goodbye to your faves because they're getting replaced.
Hot take Heindl, back at it. We love it. We're going to leave it there and come back on the other side. And we're going to dig into Jimmy Butler, another one of Katie's faves. It's hot takes and Jimmy Butler, Katie's two favorite things. We're going to close out the show with some League at Large talk with the writer of the League at Large section, the Locked On Raptors newsletter. We'll do that coming up in just a sec. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the number one sportsbook in North America, where you can get ready to tackle the NFL action on FanDuel all season long. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. It's that simple. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Once again, FanDuel.com. And it's not just the NFL. Of course, if you want to throw some money down on your against the spread champions, the Toronto Raptors, the second best against the spread record in the NBA this year, you can maybe win some bucks throwing some money on them to just cover. Not even win, just cover. It's that simple. Go check them out. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Closing it out, still just cooling down after the hot take Heindl madness in the last segment. Katie, my office today, it's on the top floor. The heat doesn't blow up here super great. It's kind of a drafty window. It's really cold and windy outside. It's toasty in here now just because of the takes. So
You're
thank
welcome
you for that. You're keeping me warm and cozy. Let's get into some League at Large stuff. Again, you write the League at Large section 4 days a week in the Locked On Raptors newsletter, and the Locked On newsletters covering all of the NBA teams with your Locked On hosts attached as well. It's a great thing. And there's lots of stuff going on in the league, Katie, but we should talk about a guy the Raptors are playing against tonight, Jimmy Butler, who in Shams Charania's broken English is apparently wanting a trade, or the Heat want to trade him. I'm not exactly sure. Bernie Lee, Jimmy Butler's agent, seems not
shout out
so
Bernie
pleased with Shams's work. It's
shout
a whole
out Bernie.
thing. Yeah. It's something. It's nice that Shams is the only name in Inside Scoops now. It's really great. We love the environment that this whole thing is set up underneath. Jimmy Butler, Warriors, Rockets, the Suns, apparently. I think the Nets are on the list of teams that he apparently would be fine going to. Doesn't seem like there's any worry or care for the extremely restrictive CBA that's going to make most trades impossible or illegal. But you're a Jimmy Butler head. You love big face coffee. You're a supporter of Jimmy Butler's work. What are your takeaways on this? It's timely because the Raptors play the Heat tonight. And I'm curious to see sort of, what the vibes look like, considering I don't think we've seen the Heat play since this all came out.
Mhm.
What's your read on this whole situation with the Heat, Jimmy Butler, the end of an era or not? What you got?
I haven't actually had a big face coffee. Sad. Okay. I'll preface by saying I know it's not a surprise given that there's been so much speculation about Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler's relationship going all the way back to Pat Riley's end of season presser, I believe. Just in terms of all, him saying like nobody's getting preferential treatment. Basically, like Jimmy has to be on board with this. We're on board with Jimmy, et cetera, et cetera. However, this still feels surprising to me because I think in my mind, it was just one, it was and still is such a fit, Jimmy in Miami, especially alongside Bam. I think the rotating cast that's been around them has obviously like not solidified. Miami, weirdly to me, went the route of the Lakers the past couple seasons in letting a lot of their crucial role players walk to other teams. When the entire ethos of the Heat system is to develop from within and find these, sort of diamond in the rough and polish them up and make them regular diamonds. So that's been a bit strange to watch. But then, on the other end of that spectrum, this is a team that's really like overperformed, given the personnel that they have in the playoffs pretty much every single year, in large part to Jimmy Butler. Yeah. So, and the last thing I'll say about the team is that it never struck me as that they had that much urgency to kind of get things right. Every team in the sense that's competitive, there's an urgency to win a title, sure. But I didn't think it felt like they were on such a severe trajectory as to be like, well, we've got 1 year left with Jimmy. And then we've got to, cut him loose because it hasn't really worked out. So that part of it is actually quite surprising to me, for a team that is usually all right with like biding its time in strange ways. I guess I don't mind the fits. They would be strange.
Yeah. Dallas was the other team I forgot to mention, which I think is like literally illegal and impossible to find a trade that works. So
yeah, the apron stuff makes it actually quite complicated for this to really work. Like this would be a multi-team trade. And I also don't think there are a few desperate teams, but because those are not the destinations, I think the Warriors are the only team that is kind of looking down its lineup right now and saying like, okay, we do need some continuity here. So like, who could we cut loose? But then if you're looking at someone like Jonathan Kuminga, who is finally getting starting minutes. And I know the cynical observation of that is Steve Kerr is just trotting him out so he can be traded. Again, it seems like you're forfeiting your future for someone who isn't going to be in the league as long. Yeah.
I mean, for the Warriors, I guess it's just like, we got to do everything we can to try to get Steph one more, right? Like that's
sure
what it all feels like. And
yeah.
But also I think the way it works is if Andrew Wiggins is not involved in the trade, and Andrew Wiggins has been, much better this year. He's kind of back to Warriors Andrew Wiggins, which is great to see. But like, unless Wiggins is in the deal, it has to be like a 6-for-1 trade, which you're just not able to do in season. It's not functional in a good year where the CBA is not putting pressure on everybody in the top of their heads. Like it's not functional. And so I actually don't think he's going to end up traded just because of how restrictive the environment is. And like, this is a trade situation that like, and I think Brandon Ingram's a part of this as well. like the entire trade market, and we're going to talk a little bit about the trade market on Monday's podcast with Joseph Cacharo, as December 15th will have passed us by then, and we'll be into trade season, the sickos' favorite time of the year. But like the CBA is going to hang over every single trade conversation or trade possibility this year. And it's going to be the reason why teams look at a guy like Jimmy Butler, who is going to have to get paid at some point soon here and is in his mid-30s, and say, we can't do this and keep ourselves afloat in a competitive league. Like, we're going to have to make some tough, upsetting decisions. It's going to force teams to move on from guys who have a lot of equity in the franchise, and it's going to make it a less sort of connective experience for the audience. Like, it's the new CBA sucks, Katie. It's a big bummer. It has ruined the fun of big trade season for those who like it, and it's going to ruin the ability for teams to keep themselves together, and they're going to have to make these like tough calls to move on from franchise icons. Like, I think if there were not concern about what a next deal for Jimmy Butler would do to the financial situation for the Heat, they'd have already signed him by now. They'd be like, yeah, you're a Heat guy for life. We're going to finish it off with you. But it just doesn't feel like that's like a sensible decision for a lot of front offices now, just because there's so much to juggle and so much pressure from the restraints of the CBA that are going to make this all super difficult. So more trade stuff to come. Let's quickly finish off as we whip around the league at large. NBA Cup. It rules, Katie. The knockout games this week, single elimination basketball, nothing better. And that Rockets Warriors game last night, yeah, there was some officiating chicanery at the end, as you'd expect. But in general, loved that game. It was just two teams going full wallop mode against each other.
That was dunk for dunk. That was full. Yeah.
It was just so grimy. It felt like I was watching like a 2008 playoff game, and I loved every second of it. You get the Hawks and the sort of villain arc with Trae Young and the Knicks, super fun as well. Like the NBA Cup rules. And Katie, I guess to tie this back to the Raptors, I want to be part of this. Next season, NBA Cup glory needs to be the goal, I say.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think last year, given the Pacers being the darlings of the Cup, and then going into the postseason when I don't think really many expected them to, because of the momentum they sort of caught fire with in the Cup. There was thinking that this tournament might be like a young teams tournament, like an up and comers tournament. And to a degree, that's true, but it's also showing that like, no, it's still the best teams are going to fare pretty well in the NBA Cup.
The best teams are also very young, right?
Yeah. And so I think, but that's what I think last year I remember thinking like, oh, the Raptors could really use this opportunity, right? To get a little bit of this like playoff atmosphere run, play under some bigger spotlights, see if they can, shift their mentality in and out of like, okay, this game there's stakes to this and it really means something. This year I can't, and they didn't. This year I can't really put that against them given just the shapes that the team is in, but it is a bummer. And I hope that next year they're in good enough shape that they could use again, to go back to the Pacers example, use this as an early runway to kind of jettison themselves into the rest of the season with energy wise. And these games are actually a lot of fun. A skeptic of gamifying the game, is fully in on the in-season Cup. It's very fun to watch. And I would love that for the Raptors.
This is not a thing I never thought I'd say while Trae Young plays for them, but I am Hawks envious. Like, go be the Hawks next season. You should be the Hawks of next year's NBA Cup. If you're the Toronto Raptors, that should be priority number
be the
one.
Rockets. That's a weird thing to say, but
yeah,
be 100%. The Rockets.
Also, to tie it back to the start of the show, the Hawks leading the league in dunks.
Yeah,
not surprising. They're going to Vegas. Get them dunks going. Let's go. We're gonna leave it there, Katie. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out. We went a little long, but that's okay because I think we had some really good stuff for the.
I had to show that ancient archaeological artifact.
We did archaeology.
Yeah.
We did dunk theory. We did financial minutia. We hit them all in this.
Yeah, we did. We had a take.
Yeah. We got broiling hot volcanic magma level takes from Katie, which is the best. So we're going to leave it there. Do you have anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
No, you already did. The Locked On newsletter, which yes, 5 days a week, you get local coverage by someone as great as Sean. You know, look at Sean's readers are engaged as anything. I see the analytics. You know, they love reading Sean. And then you have me 4 days a week writing a national story. Mike Shearer 1 day a week, kind of breaking down the analytics, I would say, of the league at large. But overall, this thing's really snowballing. It's growing like expeditiously week over week. And there's just much more big things and big plans for it to come. So get in now.
Get in now on the ground floor, 100%. And you get good blog posts from me, like yesterday, talking about dunks, or today, where I'm going to take mailbag questions about trades. So you can go ahead and do that. Toxic Positivity on Friday as well is a fan favorite if there are fans. So go and check that out. There's a QR code on the screen if you want to check it out from the if you're watching on YouTube, you can just click right through. If you're not watching on YouTube, you just go to link in the description of the podcast and click through as well. It's on my socials and everything as well. Come support the newsletters. They're great. You get me, you get Katie, you get all kinds of other stuff. And again, it's totally free. So go do it, damn it. We'll be back again on Friday to talk about Raptors Heat. And we'll do a little Toxic Positivity Friday woven into that episode as well, regardless of the outcome, because that's what we do here. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Ugh, that
Way
is
off.
brick.